Hello, Dent listeners and viewers. Mike McCarthy here with Matthew Petchel once again. Super special guest today. This one, I'm always excited to do these podcasts, but I've got a living legend with us today. And the reason I have her on is multi-level or multi-reasonable, but everybody asks me, Mike, who do you always want to see as a KOL speaker? Who could you listen to again and again and again? Who do you get educational value that is applicable the next day from? Hands down, out of my mouth comes Rachel Wall. So I am proud to introduce the Dent audience to hygienist extraordinaire, CEO of Inspired Hygiene, a national powerhouse, which we'll get her to tell a little bit more about. And most importantly, my personal friend, Rachel, thank you for being on the Dent podcast today.
Thank you. Wow. That's a great way to start a week. Man, that was awesome. Thanks, Mike.
All true.
There goes half of the podcast right there. We're out of time. I'm sorry with the intro.
Hey, wait.
Yeah, we've got to live up to the hype now. You've set that up, Mike.
There we go. Micro podcast. We're going to make it a thing. So
thank you.
Let's jump in, Rachel.
Okay.
We have a lot of younger clinician listeners. Could you take us through your journey from hygiene school to where you are today, leading this business empire, and let the audience know what your journey was?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I graduated from dental hygiene school in 1991. So, to go through all the ups and downs of that, it would take us more than 15 minutes. But the short answer is I knew pretty quickly, I knew in dental hygiene school that I wanted to at least pursue getting a bachelor's degree. So I finished that at UNC a few years after, worked as a hygienist while I was going to school there. And then I encountered in a super proactive, progressive practice there that was all female led, I will add. I first encountered a dental coach, a dental consultant for the team, and I was really intrigued by that. And so lots of different twists and turns between then and now. But I reached out to that individual, kind of became, I would say, a mentee of hers and helped her some in her business. She was focusing primarily on practice management. She said, hey, you can really bring the clinical side to this. And so worked with her for a bit. She referred me to another amazing mentor, and one thing led to another. And I ended up starting Inspired Hygiene in 2004. And here we are. And it was just me. It was me and me alone, maybe with a virtual assistant for a couple years. That really was the first, I would say, 6 to 7 years of Inspired Hygiene was me. And then I had some really cool strategic introductions, really stepped out of my comfort zone and went to speak about the business of dental hygiene to some CPAs. And that was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone, but did that. And they really were looking for a source to help optimize the hygiene department. And that was a tipping point in the business. And then things grew and we added team members and added additional coaches, which has been a fabulous experience and really helped us grow our reach at Inspired Hygiene.
I love hearing that you took this on yourself and stepped outside of your comfort zone. But what they tell me is they go, Mike, I got zero business education in dental school. Mm-hmm. What Inspired Hygiene and its crew brings is a intimate working knowledge of the business of dentistry, paired with clinical best practices, cleared with revitalizing energy and enthusiasm. So kudos to you. You really carved it out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It sort of proves the point that you are one of the, Mike and I like to call you the OG. You're the OG RDH kind of business coach. And you probably will say, well, no, there were a few before me, but
yeah,
you kind of I don't know.
You did it right. How about that?
I don't know if you'd say you did it right, because that means they did it wrong, which is, I don't know if that's.
I mean, by magnifying the brand.
You just got it right. Yeah, you kind of got it right. and it kind
Thank you.
of what I think would be really interesting to know is how you evolved. So in 2004, you kind of launched it. And back then this was all about, you were coaching practice to practice, right?
Yes.
You were, I mean, the internet was probably a source, but it was probably a lot of shows and meetings and
Yes.
networking and things like that.
Yeah.
And then it sort of, the 2000s, my guess is the 2010s through 19 was probably really, really good. And then boom,
Yeah.
2020
Yeah.
hits, and your business model has to change again, and you pivot.
Mhm.
And then here we are
Mhm.
5 years later, and you're, and it's probably zigzagged a little bit. What
For sure.
could you give? I think there's some wisdom. I know there's a lot of wisdom in there, but like for somebody who's younger, just getting started on, instead of trying to, they use the term boil the ocean, right? And younger people kind of want to do that. They want it all today, and they want to be the expert, overnight. And what advice would you give somebody who's, already maybe doing something, whether they're a KOL or an influencer or a speaker or whatever they are, to kind of take it to the next level? What's the one thing you would tell your daughter, like if she were going to follow in your footsteps? You're like, here's the
Yeah.
thing.
I would say just keep it real. Be authentic. Don't try to be more than what you already are. I mean, there is always an element of stepping out of your comfort zone and figuring it out as you go. There's always an element of that in any type of entrepreneurial business. However, if you have sound experience, whether that is on the dental side or the business side, whatever that might be, just build on that. Don't underestimate the experience that you already have, and don't assume that everybody else already knows what you know and what you've been able to create. And so it's not that I have all of the answers, or that us collectively at Inspired Hygiene have all the answers, but we have very thoughtfully put together our programs so that they really influence the way that adults learn. We've learned from some experts in our field. Always happy to share that on how to put together the content in our coaching. And we also pay really close attention to what gets results and what doesn't. So I would say just don't underestimate your personal experience and what you have to share. Keep it real. Don't be afraid. I mean, I worked part-time as a hygienist for probably at least 10 years while I was building Inspired Hygiene. So, it was a growing legitimate business, but I still, hung on to that clinical piece as long as I could. And who knows, like I may go back into that. And I always want to stay tied to those clinical roots.
Is that,
So
do you
I
think
don't know
that's
if that answers your
important?
question.
Do you think that
It does.
keeping a, I'm going to make up a term right here. Do you
Yeah.
think keeping a hand in the mouth is important while you're sort of on this journey? Meaning whether you're 1 day a week, 2 day a week, just so you're still connected with what's going on in the industry and what's going on, clinically in procedure or whatever it is.
I think it's helpful. I don't know that staying in the clinical process every week is necessary. And honestly, it's really hard to do that while you're growing a business. And if
Right.
it really takes off and it requires your attention and management, it's difficult to do that. However, there are creative ways that you can do that. And when we're in our client's practice, we're in there in a clinical environment, right? We're paying attention to things. We are all, as a team, I say we, the Inspired Hygiene team, always learning clinically too. We're, even if we're not in a practice on a day-to-day basis, like we're taking clinical CE, we're going to hands-on courses. We are, learning from our clients as well as coaching them. And also we are doing things like volunteer dental clinics. We're, doing things that we can do to stay relevant in that. And so, yeah, I think it's important to stay close to it. It is hard as your business grows to stay in it on a day to,
Right.
or even a week to week basis.
One of the things I've learned from Inspired Hygiene from a business standpoint is I love that you can schedule a consultation call with you or a member of your team. Practices don't have to dive into this dark world they know nothing about. So I just want to I know it may be a little commercial there. I'd love your unabashed opinion on this, but you cannot go on a dental focused social media portal today without seeing a beef between American dentists and American hygienists. And it's usually the loudest voices on both
Yeah.
ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? Your clients must ask you about it. How do we solve this turf war or just ridiculousness of disjointed teams and being adversaries?
Yeah, so I think you hit one point on the head is that while I do believe that this is a significant issue in the impeding the progress in our industry, and we're already starting to see that it is uh putting dental hygiene progress at risk. There's a risk that we're going to slide back, right? And reduce the licensing requirements, and I don't very few dentists or hygienists that I know are up for that. I do think that we're hearing from a loud minority on social media that are really still going at it. I think most reasonable dental professionals recognize that we have to work together. We got to build a bridge here, and that's going to take conversation.
Yeah.
It's going to take being humble. It's going to take recognizing everyone's roles in this, situation that we're in right now. And, you gave me the option to talk about this or not. I'm like, how could I come on a podcast and not answer that question? I mean, that
Right.
would be the epitome of putting your head in the sand. So I think that we really just, it has to start at the practice level. With hygienists and dentists being willing to have conversations and have some hard conversations and say, hey, I feel like, this is the competitive compensation rate, for example, if a hygienist is going to their dentist and here's being willing to say, here's why I feel like this is a reasonable request. Here's what I'm bringing, the value that I'm bringing to the table. And I would say every dentist that we've coached and many in groups that I'm in say, we don't necessarily feel like we need to cap a hygienist compensation. It's all dependent on what the value is that they're bringing. So most are willing to have the conversation. Where the rub comes in is when a hygienist comes and says, well, I'm worth this because that's what my friend is getting paid down the street.
Right.
But yet I'm still doing the same Profi and bite wings that I've been doing for the last 15 years. That rubs business owners the wrong way. And I think what rubs hygienists the wrong way is when there's a knee-jerk reaction. And let's be honest, this has been going on for 5 years, probably, and before that, honestly, too. So knee-jerk might not be the exact best description of it, but when there is a decision that says, okay, the solution is to just reduce the educational requirements and to solve this, I don't think that's going to be a long-term solution either. So we've got to learn to meet in the middle. And actually, on our podcast coming up, I would say probably later in the year, later in 2025, early 2026, we're going to have a season about healing this hygiene doctor relationship and hearing from some powerful hygienists and doctor combos. So stay tuned for that with the Inspired
Awesome.
Hygiene podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
All right,
needed.
Matthew,
It's
wrap
needed.
it up. Bring us home.
A secret question.
There we go.
Here we go.
Here's the question I'm going to sneak in that Mike
Okay.
didn't know I was going to ask you is, have you ever fired a client or not taken a consulting gig because you were like, this isn't going to work and I know it?
Yes. We actually terminated an agreement midway through with a multi-location group. And I will tell you why. And this is a really good lesson. So one of my quotes is, the team will never go where their leader's not willing to take them. So this was a group and there was no clinical leader.
Got it. Yeah.
The business person leader was doing their absolute very best, but there was no one to really lead the clinical team, dentists and hygienists included, to say, hey, we are committed to elevating our standard of care. We've brought in Inspired Hygiene to help us do that. And this is a clinical standard that we are going to hold each other accountable to. And because of that, we were all spinning our wheels. And so I just said to them, I said, you know what? It's not a good investment for you long term, for your resources and time, our hours. if there's not a clinical leader that's going to help move these initiatives forward. And and it was a significant agreement, but it was just, I don't ever want to knowingly just be kind of riding the coattails of something that we put in place. I want them to get a good result. And does that happen every single time? No, but I will say we have very, very strong track record, and and very strong results. And if we see that it's going downhill, we're going to call it out. Yeah. That's a great question.
Yeah. And I'm guessing it was because I've been there, and I know Mike's been there too, is you think it's a hard decision, but when you're lying there in bed going, I know this isn't right, you go, yeah, this isn't a hard decision. This is, I know exactly what the right answer is.
Exactly.
I just have to force myself to make it,
Yeah. And then when we do, because you're always afraid of what their response is going to be. And this person was like, you know what? I've been thinking the exact same thing. Right. And thank you. Yeah. And thank you for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Last question. If you could change one thing in dentistry, what would it be? You can change one thing.
Here's your magic wand.
It could be shorter podcasts. It could be, I don't know.
I really think that it's time for dental hygiene to be self-directed. And to my knowledge, I could be wrong, I believe California is the only state where dental hygiene has an independent board. I think that would be a good thing, because I think not only would it give hygiene some independence from the dental boards in the states, but I also believe it would require the dental hygiene leadership in those states to step up in a even greater way in really bringing the value that dental hygiene has to offer and really charging their constituents with that. We're kind of under the thumb of dentistry in a lot of senses, and sometimes I feel like we don't step up and out in a bold way because we have that kind of security blanket there. So I would say, yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
I think it'd be interesting.
Something we can do overnight. Let's
get
on it and solve this by tomorrow. No, Rachel, I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you, Rachel.
This was a big
pleasure.
demand.
This is
you
fun.
were requested heavily by our audience. And again, everybody check out inspiredhygiene.com. Listen to her podcast. It's amazing. Her team is amazing. Her staff is amazing. And to see more really relevant guests in the world of dentistry, like, subscribe, go on Spotify, go on YouTube, make sure you catch us. And I have a feeling we might be back to you with a part 2, my dear.
Yeah.
This was truly not enough time. But thank you for giving us what you have. It's amazing.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.